Hello, beautiful people. We are back on the airwaves after a little holiday hiatus and had to grease some palms, even go through some familial contacts to get this guest. But we have the one, the only Dan Kenger, the Chief Design Officer over at Hims and Hers. We were actually just talking offline. Wonderful human. He is going to drop some bombs on you. Dan, thanks for coming through, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Super excited to be here.
All right. So before we get to where you are now, how did you get here? How does one become a chief design officer?
How did I get here? I stumbled into here. But no, I've always been a designer, always been an artist. Just like in school, took all the art classes, right? And then when I went to college, that's really where I was able to really kind of explore, art school and the craft and just get into all the tech and all the fun stuff there. But when I graduated college in 2008 at the beautiful time of the recession,
Oh, same.
um, like I'm from Long Island. I was living in Long Island, and I moved back in with my parents like a classic millennial.
Same.
And I took the train to the city every day. And this is crazy. The first job I got was at Gin Lane in 2009. That was the first job I got, and I stayed at that job for 11 years.
Holy
Um,
smokes.
yeah, and this is the second job I've had. Um, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I joined Gin Lane in 2009, and I was there till 2020. Um, and I basically built that company with Emmett, which was great. And I think what we did at Gin Lane, our whole kind of claim to fame was like the D2C aesthetic. We did
Yep.
Harry's, we did Warby, we did Sweet Green, and then in 2017 we did Hims. So Hims was my client, and that's how I got introduced to Andrew, the CEO, and we kind of hit it off. Um, People. The thing that I'm the most thankful for, and the reason I love my job is, it really comes down to a CEO who believes in design and who understands how design can be a competitive advantage. And I'm lucky enough to be at a company where I love the CEO, and he realizes that, and that's why, frankly, I report to him. I think Andrew understands the je ne sais quoi, the intangible. He understands what it means that how you look and how you show up in the world really matters to customers when you're communicating with them, when you're marketing to them. Um, and so, so that's really how, so I joined Hims in 2020. And, just kind of, put up numbers, put numbers on the board, and just kept,
Yep.
kind of showing how design is a competitive advantage. Design can move the business just like other parts of the business.
Yep.
And I think when design is treated like that, and it works collaboratively with marketing, with ops, even with finance, you can really stand out. I mean, even our earnings report, we get compliments on our earnings report. And that's
Yeah.
because like I'm a psycho and I want everything to be designed, and Andrew kind of waters that plan and lets me run around and design everything. And I like to say like, design is a centralized function at Hims and Hers, which I think is unique. At a lot of companies, they sprinkle designers everywhere. They just
Yes.
kind of scatter them. But here we're all together. And I think that's better from a career perspective for employees. And I think it outputs better work fundamentally, which is better for the business.
Man, so much to unpack there. One, that's incredible, dude. Just
Thanks,
two
man.
hits and you're already driving in just random, just massive RBIs, just grand slam the grand slam. What was that like? Because honestly, for me, that is the idealized pathway for not only the CEO, but also a really high level creative, whether it's a chief brand officer, a chief design officer. Those are almost like same, but different
Yeah.
for me. Um, because you guys can build this relationship and it's like, hey man, why don't you just start dating monogamously? Like here's a big fucking number and let's send it and just give me basically let me buy all your hours and all your brain. Was that like weird? Was that ideal? Because for me, that's ideal because it's almost like a without being like a derogatory, it's almost like a try before you buy, right? Like a
Yeah.
leadership
It
is
was,
a really big deal, especially when you have like you're talking this intangible thing where it's going to be hard for you to have attribution of like, yes,
yeah.
what our earnings report looks magical and it's one of the best and we get compliments from it. How does that actually add, business impact? But when you have a CEO that gets that, then it's just about building cool shit and
Yeah.
make the rocket ship go faster.
100%. I think the unique relationship I had, was, you know, being at Gin Lane and having Andrew as a client, it really allowed me to like you said, try before you buy. It really allowed me to like prove the worth of design. Like, and what was really unique about Hims was, most of our clients we would launch and then we would move on to the next one. That was like the business model, human capital. Like
Yep.
people always got to be billing, right? So, but with Hims, it was unique because they came out the door like a fucking rocket ship, and the whole company, as many things happen with real product market fit, everything started breaking, and he didn't have time to worry about creative, so he actually was able to afford. I was like, yo, man, it's me and two designers. If you can pay our like monthly retainer, I'll just do as much as I can, like
Yep.
whatever, and it just the dynamic really worked, and we stayed on to be his out of house, in house creative team, and so he never built an in-house creative team. It was just us from 2017 to 2019. And then in 2019, we shut down Gin Lane and we became Pattern. And that's when I realized, I was like, whoa, like Hims is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And in talking with Andrew, I was just like, you don't have an in-house creative team. Like, this, I know the brand, like this was kind of meant to be. So yeah. And, I like to say, a lot of companies, they're very, they represent the founder. The founder sets the tone. And I think
Yes.
Andrew set the tone from the beginning of, design matters, and it can be used to move the needle. And when it comes from him, it's like, he doesn't have to convince anyone. He's a CEO,
Awesome. Yes.
and it's great. So it's like, and he believes in it. He understands, even the physical product, how our products show up at the doorstep. It matters that they feel good, even though they're medicine. And so, it might not be the cheapest, it might not be the most operationally efficient, but, having glass jars or having something that looks beautiful, like goes a long way. And it's really interesting because then the whole company works together to make it happen. It's not like me trying to convince other C-suite. It's like, no, he said it. Let's all work together and we're going to do it. And you know what? We're going to do it collaboratively and it's going to look good. It's going to be efficient. We're going to try to make it cheap as we can. But it kind of changes the whole dynamic and everyone starts running in the right way, which is really cool.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think for better or worse, that only happens top down. Like to push it bottoms up is just impossible, man. Like I'm a huge Liquid Death guy, and without Mike, like Mike was the craziest dude in that room. You know what I mean? So
you have to be.
Like there's no way any of this stuff gets greenlit, and so you being on the same wavelength as your CEO, I think is. I'm fortunate here at Vermont that the two co-founders and I really see the field in the same way, but with different perspectives. And I think that's really important. And so, so that's actually a great segue into, so what do you sit over? Because I would argue you guys are super design forward, man. I mean, like outside of being kind of like essentially, because honestly, I think for you, the big, or like from, what's it called? Armchair quarterbacking, you guys can become basically like Walgreens online. You know what I mean? Like this distribution point, but it's also this just massive, awesome opportunity because, you're making people feel better, which is it's a
100%.
really cool thing, right? Where you're reducing suffering, you are giving people libido back. There's all these really cool, like positive brand components. And when you're doing that, if you don't get it in like a nice package, if the brand doesn't feel upscale, then it feels again more like a pharmacy where you guys almost feel like a medical membership. I think that sounds like semantics, but I've just been blown away by not only where the brand started, but just the evolution of it. Yeah. So I guess I kind of threw a lot at you there, but just kind of take me through how you're seeing the whole field. Cause I didn't even think about, like, it's crazy when you're talking about earnings reports, like, but that's a brand touch point, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. Everywhere. So
yeah, take me through that. Cause I think it's just super cool.
Yeah, so I oversee all of creative, which is basically, the look and feel of the brand at all the touch points.
Yep.
I like to say. So my org is designers, animators, copywriters. It's everyone that's in charge. It's everyone for all those touch points. So for tactically, it's the website, it's the app, it's emails, it's landing pages, it's the physical package. So I have industrial designers, structural designers that are doing, like, we're designing the pill. And then I have like the brand side of the house, which is like TV, out of home, our commercials. And then I have like, all the social, like all the paid, like we do all our Facebook in-house. So it's everything. So that's why I love my job, because it's
Yeah.
fucking, it's, you know, it's like I get to like oversee everything and make sure it's all consistent and it looks good and share all the learnings. And I'm a huge in-house guy, even though I came agency. Like, you know, when you're at it, when you're lucky enough to be at a company that's growing as quickly as us, it really makes sense to build the capability in-house.
100% with you.
So that's why, so like, I don't, you know, we do all our TV in-house, we do all our landing pages in-house, because it's like, I can afford to have 3 designers just thinking about landing pages all day, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting. And, you know, I think, like, as you were saying, like, you know, we like to think of ourselves, you know, modern day healthcare, we're in
Yes.
dealing with stigmatized issues. You know, we're dealing with
Yes.
sexual health, hair loss, you know, weight loss now, mental health, you know, and it's like, you know, we're talking to the customer. You know, I need to make you feel comfortable, and like, you want to come to us about like growing your hair back, you know? Um, and you know, having the brands, you know, and this is why, like, you know, why we're so different than other healthcare, because you know, we talk to the customer and we
Yeah.
understand the customer. Like, I have 2 brands. I got the Hims brand, I got the Hers brand, you know, and it's like, how I talk to women about hair loss is very different than how I talk to men about hair loss, you know? And pharma doesn't, you know, pharma, the customer is not them. They're selling to insurance companies, PBMs, like,
That's a
so
really good point.
you know, it's totally like, you know, that's why how we show up and using like lifestyle photography. And like, I've always tried to take like a D2C e-com lens to our brand, you know, like, just put cool people, look modern, and like care about what things look like when they show up. And like, people want that. Like, why would they want ugly medicine? Like, why wouldn't you want your medicine to come in a nice jar, you
That's
know?
so
So,
well said.
you know, so like, that's very much like how we've tried to approach it. And it's fun because, you know, all the touch points. So like, even internal now, as you've grown, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like a gift and a curse. Like, I want to design everything, but then everyone comes to you, you know? So it's like, you know, we designed a shit ton of internal decks for all hands and this and that, you know, because it's got to look good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to look ugly, right? And then it's like earnings too. Like, you know, every fucking quarter an earnings report, we got to lay it out, and it's graphs, and like, we're trying to make graphs look sexy, but like, I don't know, it matters. And, you know, we get every now and then people like, oh, that earnings report looks good. And, you know, that goes a long way. But, you know, I
Yeah.
think it just matters how we show up.
I completely agree. And from my point of view, like obviously you got to do the fundamentals. That's really, really important. But the way you're thinking about it gets just right up next to that surprise and delight. And there's no better feeling than like, because the worst thing you can do is tell somebody that you did that. You want them to
Yeah.
discover it. And then they're like, holy shit, Dan, like you even thought of this? Like this
Yeah.
insert or like the way the can slides together and then just snaps or like the branding on like that's where I think when you get to this just really impeccable, it traverses the business side of your brain into the emotional side of your brain, where
Yeah.
you kind of become a homie versus an acquaintance, where it's like this
Yeah.
person,
And it's a lot
like,
harder to leave a homie and a lot harder to switch a homie, you know?
it's
Like,
100%, dude, 100%.
100%. And the, you know, the irony too is like, the best design, I think, is like, often it looks the simplest and it's like the most unnoticed, you know? So it's like, you know, it's like a gift and a curse. It's like, you know, but you're right. Like, that's, you know, what's, I don't even know what the word, but it's, you know, it's like every now and then when someone realizes, it makes it all worth it. You know,
Makes
it just, you know, and it goes a long way. And I think it's all those details. And if you can do them at scale, I think that's, you know, really powerful.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, how how would you like one liner design? How would you explain to a 5 year old what design is?
What design is? Um, I mean, that's a good question. I think it's using visuals to create an emotion, you
Oh,
know,
I
if I
love
would,
that.
you
I
know,
love that.
cause I mean,
I
obviously
love
what
that.
you said, like, we deal in the subjective, but we have the ability to like create an emotion better so than any other category of business. And that's like what you play the game for, of like, if you
Yes.
get one grand slam that you didn't expect because like people felt a certain way when they saw it, like, you can't quantify that. Like,
Yes.
I like to think about like TV a lot. Like, you can do direct response TV, you can have it like hit all the value props, but like, if you swing for the fences every now and then and you try something weird that doesn't play by any DR rules, like, you can just drive numbers because it like is so memorable or it's so emotional or
Yes.
it's so like, you know, like, and that's like you. And I think being in house, you need to create an environment where, like, I like to say, like, you have your vegetables and you have your dessert. Like,
Yes.
you know, like, Like I'll do DR all day. I'll make it beautiful, but you got to have healthy DR. You got to put numbers on the board. People need to have expected return on creative. I get that. But I also feel like you need to have an environment where you try some weird shit every now and then. You try some shit that's going to get outsized returns because like that's the only way to like, stay ahead or even to like keep good talent and stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, two peas in the pod. I couldn't agree with you more. And super eloquent response. I think of it in the same vein, and it's weird because when you have super talented people, it's almost easier to get them to motivated to execute on something crazy, wacky, really hard
Yeah.
versus like the standard. Okay, go get your cardio in kind of stuff. Well, again, like you said, we have to do it. That's what pays the bills. But what pays the bills isn't what sharpens the knives. And I think that's
Yeah.
where you need to have both sides of the house. And honestly, like for me, I think of it the exact same way where if 5 to 7% of my marketing budget doesn't fail, that's actually not a success for me. That's a failure
Yeah.
because
Because
I
that means you didn't
know
try anything.
exactly. There's not enough risk in the system.
Yeah.
Not enough risk in the
Yeah.
system. And like at this stage, I think there's different stages of companies. And you need to make sure they're sequenced right. But in the growth stage, dude, you don't care about 1 or 2 points. You want to be like,
No.
first, we're
Yeah.
going to build the foundation, make the rocket ship go faster, and then it's like, hey, can we even build another rocket ship? Or you need to always be
You need
looking
like
for
step
10x,
function
20x.
returns.
So well
Yeah.
said. Exactly.
That's why I love what you did with your swag stuff, man. Because I thought that was just a master class in like you're creating a brand, and it's not, and you're creating a brand, especially when you're in B2B, it's even harder. But you're
Yeah.
doing it,
Yep.
And I think like that's just a master class example of just like, hey, like we're going to create an emotional response with people. We're going to create something people like because then they think of us and they might not buy us, but they have good juju towards us, and
Yep.
that goes a long way. That's like it's the long game, and like when you do eventually pop up in their life in some capacity, they're gonna pick you, and you'll get those dividends then.
Dan, for a creative and designer, dude, you have a very like CEO mentality. I mean, you're nailing it because that's where I think a lot of creatives and designers that are incredibly high level miss the fact that people experience the world in stories, and you need to connect your work back to business impact, no matter what you
No
do.
matter what.
And like the way you're thinking of things, I can understand why the CEO was very excited to bring you on full time because you're taking a very ethereal art and translating it into kind of leadership or board deck science, which is, in my opinion, the hardest thing to do. That's for me the marketing side because it's almost like I have attribution at the marketing level, and you almost have to like figure out emotional attribution, right? And both of them are fun,
Yeah,
but as long as you
but
can
I
have a story with data that
totally.
supports it, that's super smart, man. I love how you're seeing it.
I like to say a lot, like we deal in the applied arts,
Yeah.
like we're not artists. Like we have to put up numbers. Our creative
Somebody
has to
stole
we
that.
will die.
That's
Our
good.
department will die if we don't put up numbers. Right. And I also think too, like, I think a big reason organizationally we are successful is because I think I'm a big fan and like, I'm like working with marketing and like not like really being like I can make their job easier because they're not expecting creative to like do what they thought they did, right? Like, and like when I make their job easier, they really like it. And it creates a flywheel of success or like, hey,
So
creative tried something, marketing showed the attribution, I can't show all that. They connected all, they showed how it was dope. And then it's like, cool, let's do it again. So it's like, I feel like that dynamic works really well. And like, I think that's like what I understood very early of like, hey, like if, you can prove a lot of the creative, you can prove that it's working or not. And I think like that's the first level of the video game. And then I think once you have that foundation, then you can create an environment where you can try things and then people are excited when things work and they're like, oh, whoa, we tried something, it worked. And everyone's like, finding new numbers and new ways to look at things that like show success. And I'm like, cool, that's really cool. you know?
yeah, dude, super super well said. What's one of your favorite projects, if you're allowed to talk about it, that you've worked on?
So we've been doing a lot of what we call like compounded medications, which
Yep.
is basically like our own medications, but
Yep.
not, but it's allowed us to really design the pills and the jars and things like that.
Really?
Yeah. So like we
That's
have a product called Hard Mints. It's
yeah.
literally Hard Mints, and it's
Yeah.
like a Tic Tac for Viagra, you
Yeah.
know? And like we designed it, we put flex, we got an H on it, we picked the shape. So like, and then you get to pick the
That's fun.
packaging, so like that's been like super exciting. Um, in terms of just like the full experience and like having a physical aspect to the business. Cause also like, we're not just selling digital stuff. It's like there's actually something
Yes.
physical that like
Yes.
people get and they hold in their hand. And,
Yes.
so that's been, and dealing with ops and dealing with physical, it's like, it's a whole different ballgame.
I
It's just like you're dealing with longer timelines. You're dealing with like
You
harder
can't fuck
pivots.
up.
You
Like
can't
on
fuck
digital,
up.
you can fuck up, but like if you get
Yeah.
something printed, made, whatever, you're like,
Yeah. Your
hey, we
fuck
made a
ups are
typo. And
cost way more.
Mattel just had the porn site on their Wicked.
Yeah. Like,
Like, dude, you hardware, like anything like atoms, man, you got bits, fuck it. You can fix bits. Website has a typo, whatever, we'll fix it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
atoms,
yeah,
dude, are so hard. And like you said, the timelines of okay, I like this, get the sample. Okay, the sample sucks.
yeah,
Okay, and then oh, the production's actually not like the sample, and like, oh my god, dude,
yeah,
it's yeah, with the FRMT stuff, we had like a mini version of that, and there's just all like we end up having to pay more money because we had to air it
yep.
versus freight, like hit your
It's crazy.
timelines. There's always
It's
something, man. It's
it's always something. And
yeah.
then you're like looking at something for like 8 months, and you're like, I don't even fucking like this thing anymore. I've been looking at this green this whole, it's like I've been looking at this green for so. Is this even cool anymore? You're like,
Oh, yeah.
you're just like, gee, it's crazy, man. Physical shit is like a whole different ball game.
That's why, yeah, you can understand why Apple operates the way it does now because
Yeah,
it's better to be slow and right than fast and wrong, and it's almost the flip on the digital side where it's
yeah,
worse to be
exactly.
you want to be wrong fast and then adapt. But um okay, here's a little kind of fictional question. Obviously you're super happy at Hims, you love it, but is there any brand that you would love to run, like be the creative director, chief design officer, or what have you, that you would love to take over?
I joke about this all the time, but Benihana.
Yeah, no.
you know, I think I could take that company to stratosphere. I don't know what they're owned by private equity. They're just sitting on an unused asset. I love Benihana. First of all, I think it's great food. I think it's priced great. It used to be expensive, but it's not expensive. It's like $35 for a meal, and you get like rice, salad, appetizer. Like it's right. It's dinner and a show. It's great for families. You know, um, dude, I want to own a Benihana one day. But I definitely think from a brand standpoint, like, yo, I would make you Benihana sweats with that logo, that block logo, like we would
Yes.
crush it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely think, you know?
Oh my god! I gotta tell you, man, I had a lot of picks, but that was definitely not on the bingo card. That's fantastic.
I
Um,
mean, like, obviously, like, I'm a huge comic book nerd. Like, two people that I never got to meet, which I'm always regret, are like Steve Jobs and Stan Lee.
yep,
Like if they called me up, I'm
yep,
gone. I'm
yep,
theirs.
yep.
I'm a comic book nerd. I feel like, anything like, I like to think like I think
Are you
animated. I'm a
Marvel,
huge Pixar
DC?
kid.
Oh, dude,
What's
yeah,
up?
creativity. Are you Marvel, DC? What's your universe in terms of comics, or you don't
I mean,
non-discriminate?
I'm DC because I think they got better characters, but I love the Marvel movies, because
Yep,
there was none as a kid. And I'm a huge like Pixar fan. Like I like
yeah.
Toy Story, like hit like I wanted to work at Pixar. Like my top,
Freaking Geeks, great read.
yeah, like Wally, Finding Nemo, Incredibles, like epic
Epic.
bangers, right?
Yep.
Um, so
Even Up.
so I think
Even
animation, like I think something like that is like just really like a part of me was like, yo, I want to buy. Like I remember I was, sometimes you go in the sweat lodge and you get some crazy ideas, but
yeah.
I was like, yo, I want to buy Cartoon Network. Like Cartoon Network
Yeah.
was like shutting down. Like I was like,
Yeah.
yo, just revitalize that brand.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, a lot of my inspiration, man, comes from I think some of the like sickest branding was in the '90s. Like I think MTV '90s, dude,
yeah,
that some of that branding was just undefeated, and they were wild, dude. Like Real World,
yeah,
Road Rules, the spring break parties, the like the kids don't remember, man. But when I was in high school, dude, it was like gospel. You had to watch the music video countdowns that know what the top 10
yeah,
were before you
TRL,
went to
yeah,
school, and your ride's going to pick you up. Like I think it was really awesome. um I'm a big heritage brand guy. I'm a little bit of a bougie bitch, and I really enjoy
nice,
like old fashioned houses and stuff like that. I just think I get so interested in like luxury marketing because it's almost like anti-marketing marketing where they're like
yeah, it has to
like
be, yeah,
friction is no longer a bug, it's a feature. Like they make it
yeah,
hard for you to get stuff. So I just find it super fascinating. But one of the, I'd be remiss not to bring it up. One of the interesting pivots was the Jaguar rebrand.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, give me your thoughts there. Did you like it? Would you have done it differently? Where do you think there might have been some opportunities to grow? Where do you think they did a good job?
Yeah, Joe. So I'm a car guy.
Yep.
I'm a car guy. I mean, I'm a Fast and Furious car guy. Like
Yes, me too,
I
dude. I
I
used to love
still
tuners.
I still have my 2004 Volkswagen R32 from high school. It's I keep it in a garage in Brooklyn, like a bougie princess car, but it's a Pepsi Blue GTI.
Yes, those
So
escape,
I'm
dude.
but yeah, VR6,
Let's
six speed
go.
manual, all wheel
Yes,
drive. Like,
yes.
I was there like I'm two clicks away from putting the car seats in it for the kids, but like my wife was like, no, we're getting a family car.
Yeah, no.
Um, no. So, um, so anyway, so I like to think I'm like pretty what's going on. And when it comes to cars, I'm a huge heritage car guy too. Like
Yep.
I'm like, yo, like I think heritage is like it goes a long way with me. Like I
Yeah.
don't like Teslas. They're
Yep.
cool. I don't like them. I'm
Makes
not buying a Tesla, bro. Like I'm not buying a
exactly,
Tesla.
dude.
You know, I want like you never stepped into a BMW. Whoever owns a Tesla. Anyway, point is that Jaguar. I actually kind of like the cars. Like I
Yeah.
like the concept cars that they dropped. I
Yeah.
think it looks it looks like a Batmobile.
Yeah.
Looks like a saturated Batmobile, like
Yep.
like that Art Deco Batmobile from
Yep.
Batman the animated show. So I like the car. I think how they went about it was incorrect. Like I don't really subscribe to the news of like or the saying of like all news is good news or like oh well they got people talking about them. Like you're right, they did, but like I don't really find that much valuable. Like I don't know. I think it wasn't the best of like I like objectively like I don't think they communicated like I don't think anyone knows they shifted to an electric car company. Like that was
Yes.
lost, right?
Yes.
Like so I just think like even looking at it objectively, I'm like you didn't like hit your goal, man. Like I don't like get it. Like I
Right.
don't I'm not walking away with the right message. And that whole video, like it was high fashion and like it's a tactic, but like I don't know. It did like a part of me is like when something is so weird, I try to look at it very objectively, and I'm like, I
Right.
don't know, man. Like you didn't achieve. Like I didn't walk away. Like I think with art, you can like evoke that feeling, and I can be confused. But like I don't know, this is a car company. Like I'm a car. Like I'm not like there's certain things that there's certain check boxes you just like need to hit as a minimum. Um, and I felt they missed those. But the car, and also I'm like, yo, you blew up your brand for a concept car. Like you're not even releasing it. Like what are you doing?
Dude.
Like why didn't you do that and drop the car and be like this is the car? But like any fucking company can do a concept. How many cool concept cars have we seen? Like
They're
so like
all
that was
cool.
also like another miss for me cognitively. I was like it can't be that dope because you blew it all up for a concept car. Like like I don't know.
I
What do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm getting the producer in the ear to turn up the heat so we have more disagreements, but I couldn't agree with you more. I also when I have these visceral reactions, I try and to your point, like usually there's an insecurity or there's
Yeah,
something there, so I need to like work through that before I give my opinion. But I'm with you. I thought if the goal was truly to do what they wanted to do, honestly, dude, I just spin off another brand, like a sub brand of Jaguar, and you keep the
yeah,
heritage
right.
brand.
Just do that.
To nuke the Jaguar logo is, I mean, that's going to go down Twitter to X, HBO Max to Max. I mean, I thought it was one of the worst brand decisions on the planet.
Yeah,
That's as perfect a logo as you're ever going to get. I mean, I
yeah,
just, and to go for this like weird, Gucci-fied kind of thing, I
yeah,
thought that was just a huge miss. I thought the idea of okay, we want to be more inclusive actually came off as being exclusive and to the people that actually are going to buy your car, which is like
yeah,
crazy to me where you're like, dude, I get you want to have this cool funky thing, but like who's going to drop 130K like car people like you don't
yeah,
like and so when I started working through all the machinations and to your point like nobody realized okay cool they're going full EV now it's like oh this
yeah.
is
Which is kind of
car.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right like holy moly
like
like you have this like electric Jaguar or whatever so I thought for me to scuttle a 100-year-old heritage brand was just a weird choice in that sense and then all the people that are yelling about it are the people that were never going to or the people that are praising you or were people that were never going to buy Jaguar in the first place so
yeah,
I just didn't get the business sense behind it and I didn't get the brand stuff, because I was with you. I thought the concept car was actually not horrible.
Yeah,
But to your point, like they're not even going to produce it. Even the like Mercedes EV was sick, and like the one they made was nice, but the
yeah.
concept car was
There's
rad.
always
It's always
you
better.
like you always know
Fashion.
the concept car is dope. That's not nothing. That's like nothing. Like that's not proving anything. I will
Yeah.
say, and just from our previous conversation, like the only thing I'll give them is like it's hard. It takes balls to like fully go in on something like that. And like
I like
I want to
that.
meet the room of approvers. Like who is driving that? Who is driving that? Like I
How did
always
you
play this
sell
game. Like first of all, how come they haven't popped off on Twitter? Where's the dude that's like that was my idea? Like
it?
why is no one owning this, right? And
Yes.
second of all is like
So well
I,
said.
I always like to play this game of like what was the brief? You know, like work backwards, like try to pitch it, right? And like who like and did you saw them? I mean, you definitely saw them on Twitter. They just kept doubling down.
Yeah.
Like so like that's conviction, man. Like
I
and
will
also
give you
like
that.
who is running the ship that's still like imagine the entire internet hated your shit. And who is telling them keep going? Just keep going crazy on Twitter. Like who like props, man. Props for that, you know? Like
That's a great call out. That's
you know, if I did that, I would have been like, maybe I would have gotten as far as of launching something crazy. But if the entire internet turned on me, I probably would have been like, all right, guys, like maybe like, but no, they didn't. They just kept going. And I was
oh
like,
my
damn.
gosh. That's very well said. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it could have been done differently. And to your point, I think the most interesting thing is, okay, we're not doing well as a business. This was the this was the best idea that came out of that brain
This,
trust
yeah.
is very unique to me
And
in
then
a
I
lot of
thought they
ways.
had like I think what you said is actually pretty. I mean, they had one or two models, like slim it down, like focus on electric. But like, if you want to go crazy, do a sub brand, like launch your Scion. You know,
That's
like
that's what I would have. Yeah, exactly.
you know, like why
Here's your Nissan,
English
whatever.
heritage? Like, how many car brands do the English have, and you're just gonna kill one? Like, you know,
It's a James
like
Bond car, for fuck's sake.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
mean, yeah. So I thought that was no, that's a good take, man. I think wrapping up on it, kind of what you said. I had a buddy of mine who he actually wrote a big long form on it, and one of the lines in there that just really jumped out to me was that marketing is art, not an art project. And this is what that
yeah,
felt like, is an art project. Because
yeah,
supposedly, like I've seen videos from the Art Basel installation. It's supposedly fucked. It's supposedly look incredible, but like again, you're selling fucking cars, man. And so this to me is like antithetical to you, where it's like this was exactly why a lot of like PE and very economically astute people have a skewed view of creative.
yeah,
This is
because
a
they do
perfect
shit like
example of
that.
where it's
Yeah,
like you just do this dumb shit without any thought about business impact or like. And
yeah,
so for me, there was just like you perfectly said it. They just didn't check some of the core boxes, like the things I'd need somebody walking away from. Hey, this is a future forward thing. Hey, we're going all electric. Hey, like back
yeah,
to nature. You know what I mean? Like you have a
yeah.
fucking
Like
Jaguar. Like there's all these things. The RAR. Like I don't know. You put a lightning bolt on the Jaguar's face or
exactly
something that
right. Like
but to just go into this cheesy high fashion play, just for me, didn't give people a story to want to buy it. They gave it
100%.
controversy, and I for me, depending on what you want, they don't need awareness, they need aspiration, and I think
Yeah,
that's
and
what they need.
that's sustainable. They don't need a flash in the pan when you can't even buy the car. You need a like you said, like you know, like something that's going to make you like them over time. You know,
I want to
um,
aspire to become a Jaguar owner, or I like. I mean, so I think
yeah.
that yeah, that really missed. Um, do you have any favorite brands or designers that you follow or you're kind of amused from or learn from?
I mean, there's just so many good designers, man. I feel like you know, it's this imposter syndrome every day out there. You know,
Yeah.
like just you know, I mean, I like to take a lot of my inspiration from out of industry. You know, like Twitter is my in industry
Yep.
inspiration. Just like I mean, what people are doing, like you know, I was even talking to Emmett the other, or just like to have breakthrough creative. You always look back on the stuff you did, and you know you're always just like, wow, like it was so much easier back then because not that many the competition, not that many people were thinking. Because I look at it right now, and I'm just like, there's so many talented people. Like the
Yes.
technology, the AI, like the craft has gotten so high. Like one person's able to like output something at such a high fidelity that it's like
Yes.
it's really hard to stand out. I think on the digital sphere these days,
Completely.
you know, but I continue to always look out of industry. I'm a huge fan of like just architecture and just like, physical things, and just always using that for inspiration. Um, and just, I feel like you just have to like, as a creative, you just have to like stay sharp with culture and what's going on, because
Yes.
that's really what's gonna like
Yes.
provide things. And that's the type of energy you need to bring back to the team of like, yo, you saw this music video, you saw what they're doing there. Like, obviously we
I
can't do that, but
totally
like
agree.
just like bring that type of energy um, in a lot.
No, it's totally aligned. I know you're in the East Coast. Ronnie Fig, you a Kith guy or?
I'm not a Kith brand. I like Ronnie Fig. I mean, I'm a native New Yorker, so
Yeah.
I support.
Nick.
He's
Yeah.
I support Kith. I mean, he's got the dream job, man. He's a creative director of the
Dream
Knicks and Kith,
job, dude.
dream job, right? Like he's the creative director of like three New York institutions. Like what?
Institutions. I mean,
Like how'd you get that job, right?
United institutions, dude. I mean, I would argue the Knicks, maybe the Lakers, Celtics, but like the Knicks are. I don't know if a city encaps or a sports team encapsulates a city more and like impacts a city more than maybe Philadelphia and the Eagles, but those people
Yeah,
are crazy anyways. But like Knicks and New York is just so synonymous, and LA's too spread out, so you really don't feel it. MSG is arguably I don't even know if it's arguably. I mean, it is the most iconic venue in the United States. Like, I mean,
yeah.
it is
It's
just
yeah,
electric, dude. I mean, there's just this like heritage that has been infused into the air and walls there. You can get there from a subway. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah,
like it's a
100%.
fucking vibe, dude.
Yeah. And I think what he's doing and how he respects it and the collaborations he does, like I was just, I was reading when he just did I think when he dropped the Knicks uniforms, and he
Yep.
found the guy who did the Knicks logo design and interviewed him and found his sketches and turned his sketches into other jobs. Like, damn, man, like good. Like
He
that's
built
bring
it.
attention to that. Like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
doing it right. So like, I'm a huge, like, I think how he, just the level of respect he has for for that and how he treats each, I mean, he did one, when they did the collaboration with Marvel and Spidey, and they did a pop
Yep.
up and they had all the old Spidey comics in
Yep.
Queens. I
Yep.
was like, you went to Peter Parker's hometown, man. Like, like you really read the source material and
Yes.
follow it to like, so yeah, that's just really respectful, what he's got going on there.
Um, and then I guess kind of in that same vein, but last question: do you have any brands that are muses for you that you think are really they really nailed, whether it's their identity, their aesthetic, the way the topography works with the visuals? Do you have any brands that you really love?
I mean, I think in fashion, like, I think like, I mean, I'm a fan of like Noah,
Yep.
ALD, like
Yep.
Saturdays, New York City. Like, I think those brands like really speak, to me in terms of just, I'm a sucker for like New York,
Of course.
Queens type
Yeah.
of, that's like my cut of cloth here, like half my personality is like pizza and bagels, you
Yes.
know? So, I think that, I think when it comes to cars, like obviously I'm like, I subscribe, I'm a Porsche head, like that's the camp I
Yeah.
fall in of
Those are
like,
sexy, dude. I'm not a Porsche guy, but they're undeniable. Whether like you
undeniable,
can like it or not, but like some of those Porsches are undeniable. Like that is a objectively beautiful car. And
so
everything in it, the leather, the stitching,
it's,
it's they're exquisite. Completely agree.
19 like late 90s BMWs are like
Yep.
my like I'll try to own one day, like a like a 1999 M3.
Yeah, dude, the M series M3s and those fat ass tires in the rear, dude.
Yeah,
That
and
car
when they
was
were more boxy, I love a boxy car.
oh,
um
completely
like
agree.
you
Completely agree.
know
That car was nasty, dude.
and then I think like in the sector, in the arena, I look to, it's kind of funny because I'm in healthcare, but we don't look like
Yep.
a healthcare company. So everyone I look at is always like, I'm constantly looking at Glossier. I think what Glossier does as a brand
Strong.
is super strong, in terms of selling feeling and selling an emotion. And beauty's hard, man. You're selling an aspiration, and we're not selling beauty, but I'm trying to convince you. I'm trying to sell you that you're going to look better with hair, or that
Yep.
confidence. After you lose weight.
Yep.
So a lot of those things I definitely look at.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, it's almost like beauty for your soul. Like it's just
Yeah,
you
you
feel
know.
it's not external, it's internal. You
Yeah,
just
well, it takes like, objectively, it's like, do you want to grow your hair back or not? But it takes like a trigger of like aspiration. Like,
yes.
these aren't, you're not going to die from baldness, right?
Yep.
It's not like we're in healthcare, but we're not, I'm dealing with, conditions that like aspirational people want to make themselves better,
Yep.
they want to do something about it. And I think that takes, a bit of proactivity.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Um, okay, I'll wrap up with the last question. What do you think equation is an or a function of? What do you, or sorry, what do you think excellence is a function of? What is your equation of excellence?
What is my equation of excellence? I think everything is a classic triangle of time, money, and time, money, and quality. You
Yep,
know, um, and you just got to consistently balance that. And I think when you can do that in a way, that's how you get excellence.
I
I
love that.
think when it's not often. I think you're always compromising. Especially as a
Yes.
designer, everything is not perfect, right? Everything could be better, but like every now and then. You shit aligns where you have enough time, you got enough resources, and you got enough time to polish that like shit is just like, oh, and I think when you hit that kind of trifecta, you have excellence, and I think there's places that can institute that, put it in its culture, and you look at places like Shopify,
Yes.
even Chat GPT,
TikTok. Yep.
Stripe. These are places that I'm like, how the hell are you pumping out so much good shit over and over?
Really.
Shopify, they did the Black Friday
Oh,
crazy web thing, and then they just did this other crazy web
they
thing.
rented
I'm
out the
just like,
Sphere, the Winter's editions. They did 150 plus AI generated
I saw
videos.
that.
It's incredible. It's one of the coolest
Incredible.
drops I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you're on a different level, and I'm
Yep.
just like, but like, in order to do that, like, that's seeped in the company. Like, you've created an environment that is safe, experimental, you have a high quality bar, but like, you've given people the time and the space. Like, you've done it. That's how you like you foster excellence, I think.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. Dan, this is everything and more, man. You were awesome. I have yet I mean, I guess I've never met a chief design officer, but dude, you are every bit a chief. I have yet to meet such a talented creative with your extension to the business, and I would really encourage people that are creative that want to move into kind of the C-suite, higher level leadership. Um, that's a really big muscle that you have to build. If not, you're just going to be living in IC land, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But until you can speak leadership or board, you're always going to have that ceiling. And I find that a lot of the creatives I deal with are more of that Jaguar variety versus you. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when you're stuffing money in the walls, nobody says anything. But when
Yeah,
the hard times come hard, which they always will, and you don't have a story of how you're making business impact and how your work actually is driving the numbers for the business, that's a tough sell. And so yeah, you're one on one, man. I was a really talented dude. How can the people follow you? What do you go to? Just himsandhers.com, and then you're on the Twitters, LinkedIn guy. What's Newsy? This time's yours.
yeah. Obviously, hims and hers, and then just Twitter at Dan Kenger is probably the best, and
The best.
LinkedIn, the
Amazing.
classics. But yeah,
Dude, I really enjoyed this, man. If you're ever out in
yeah, man, I thought
Austin,
this was great.
yeah, hit me up. If I'm ever out in New York, man, we got to grab some dinner or something. We'll swipe it on the old rampy, get a little business expense going. But I really enjoyed this conversation, Dan. You're really, really elevated in not only, like I said, design, but the ability to connect business to design, which I think is really fucking hard to do, candidly.
Well, awesome, man. Yeah, definitely, we got to do it, man. I'm look forward. I love the things you're doing, and I'm a huge fan. Definitely watching from afar. So, keep me posted, and yeah, let's get it going.
Amazing. Will do. All right, folks, that's all we got. Go make sure to subscribe to our fantastic newsletter that goes out every week. It is called The Geometry of Growth, curated by the indomitable Alexa Kilroy, our director of marketing. And then if you want to go make the money printer go burr, go over to firmoutcommerce.com and start building you some funnels. Dan, appreciate you, man. We'll see you on the flip. That's all we
All right,
got,
man.
folks. Bye bye.
Have a good one. Later.